In this session, we will cover a basic introduction to working with Microsoft Project. We will cover some basic ideas to get you started quickly, including configuring your version of Microsoft Project, setting the project start date, controlling the workspace in the network view, the network layout and moving tasks in the network, and finally, building the base network. Now, when you double-click on the project template, it will open up in Microsoft Project, and your screen will look something like this. Using the wheel on the mouse, we can move the first activity around a little bit. Now, the very first thing we want to do is make sure that your computer and your version of Microsoft Project has the correct default setup. Otherwise, we are going to have a few problems later on. So in order to do that, go to the top left-hand corner of the screen. There's a tab for File, and click on that with the left mouse button. Then move down right to the bottom to Options and click on Options. And a dialog box will open up in the middle of the screen, and this gives us all the information about our project file itself, as well as some of the default settings both on your version of your instance of Microsoft Project and your computer itself. Now, most of them I can control simply with the template itself that you've opened. However, to make sure that all of them are correct, we need to check a couple of key items. So the first thing I want you to do is go down to the tab on the left called Schedule. Click on that one, and there are a couple of things we want to check here to make sure that they are correct. The first one is if you go down to Schedule over here, make sure that Show Assignments Units is set to decimal. You have a choice of decimal and percentage. We want to choose decimal. Now, this is actually linked to the resources, and we don't want 73% of a mechanic. We want the whole mechanic, so we want to set that to decimal. Now, the next thing you want to do is move down to Scheduling Options for this project and look at new tasks created or auto-scheduled. That should be right. There again is our project start date. The ones that are of interest are duration is entered in hours, and we definitely want hours. Work is entered in hours, and the default task type is fixed duration. We must have fixed duration there. And finally, there's a box over here, default task type, that is unchecked. New tasks are effort driven. We definitely want that box unchecked, so it remains not checked. And having done that, I think we've probably covered all of the typical problems that are not automatically corrected when you open my template. So if those are okay, we're simply going to go to the bottom and click OK right now. This would be a good time to check these settings on your computer. So pause this video now, and when you are ready, return to the lesson and press play. So when we double click on our template file, our blank template file, and the Microsoft Project program opens up, it will look something like this. Just move scrolling around on the wheel on the mouse. You can see the first activity, and it's moving around a bit. if we move our cursor and place it over the activity, the screen will expand out and we can see what the activity is. And one of the things we notice is our activity box is already set up with an early start for 2/8/2022 at 7 a.m. And the question is, where does that actually come from? Well, if you remember in our settings when we set up Microsoft Project, we set the start date of the scheduling time and date for the activities we added to be earliest at the project start date. Now, to see what that is or to change it, we go up to the project tab here at the top and select project information and click on that button, and a dialog box will open up with start date for the project, which is set at 2/8/2022 at 7 a.m. And we're going to schedule our activities to start from the project start date at the earliest. So that's why this little box matches up with the date time of 2/8/2022 at 7 a.m. Now we can change that simply by moving around anywhere on the calendar or backspacing the values in the start date out and retyping them in. But at this stage I'm going to keep that constant, and we will keep our start date at 2/8/2022 at 7 a.m. So simply click on OK for that one. This would be a good time to try this on your computer. So pause this video now, and when you are ready, return to this lesson and press play. Okay, so now we want to start by looking at how to resize our network workspace here and the activities and that sort of thing, so that we can actually build a network. And to do that, if we go to the bottom right hand corner, you will see there's a zoom slider in the corner there with a plus sign on the right, and we can click on that with our left mouse button and resize the workspace area and of course the size of the activities with those two controls over there. Of course we can also, if we use our left mouse click to grab on the slider itself, we can simply slide the slide bar to the left and right and zoom in and zoom out to any size that we want with our network space. And of course the scroll bars at the bottom will move us left and right, and then the scroll bar on the side will move us up and down. At the moment, with the blank template, I've positioned it to be in a handy position so that we can build quite a few activities on this without recentering the actual start size at all. So let's start with that exactly where it is right now. This would be a good time to try this on your computer. So pause this video now, and when you are ready, return to this lesson and press play. Welcome back, and now we're going to learn a few more skills on how to handle the network activity box in the network, and starting off with how to maneuver it around the screen, and then how to add activity boxes and then organize them on the desktop or on the workspace of the network. So to start off with, my activity is on the left there, and it's very small. So I'm going to enlarge it with the zoom in key in the bottom right hand corner to something I can manage, and also something that'll help you see the controls on the screen. And then to start off with, I'm going to position the cursor directly above the activity, and you can see that it's a simple arrow in my case. I've centered it above the first activity, and my mouse shows an arrow there. Now there are actually 3 different views of the little mouse pointer that I want to cover. The first one is the one that I have there, of just a straight arrow. The second one is, it becomes evident when I position the pointer directly over the edge of the activity, and it develops a different cross at the end of the pointer arrow. And then so that's very different, and you can see the difference there as I position over the edge. The third one is when I position it over the center of the activity, and we get a different cross at the end of the arrow on the mouse pointer when I position the cursor over the center. And you can see it both in the black and the white. There's the center of the activity, there's the edge of the activity, and there is off the activity altogether. Now, the difference becomes of value when I position it over the edge and I click the left mouse button. I can grab that activity and position it anywhere I want to in the screen. Okay, so that is real handy because I can move activities around at my own will and position them whenever I want to. When I position the mouse over the activity, click the left mouse button and then pull it out of the activity, I generate a new activity, and that will be automatically starting from the end of the first one to the beginning of the next activity. And of course then I can grab the next one on the edge, left mouse down, and position that wherever I want to, and in that way I can build a network very easily. So over the activity, left mouse down, pull a new activity out, there it is, click on the edge and align it, and so on. Now I can also select different activities by clicking in the center, left mouse down, click in the center of the activity, and I can select multiple activities by holding the control key down and then clicking. So I click left mouse down on the first activity, I hold the control key down and click the third activity, and I've selected them both. Now I can grab those on the edge and move just those two around. In that way I can make anything look any way I want, grab it on the edge, pull it down, and so on. Now I can also select different activities by using the shift key. So if I center this in the middle of the screen, I select the first activity, I hold the shift key down, and I left mouse click on the first one, it will select all the activities forward along the arrow line. And in that way I can collect everything in front of my first activity in the network here, and then simply click on any one, left mouse click to deselect it, and so on. And still I'm able to move individual activities around by grabbing them on the edge of the activity like that. Now the next thing we want to do is be able to align activities. So if I select all of these activities, I did that by holding the shift key down and clicking on the first one. I could also do that by holding the control key down and selecting them one at a time. There's another way I could do that, and that would be by positioning the cursor out to the top on the left there and grabbing a box around all of those activities, and I will select them. Now, having selected them, I can move them around by grabbing any one. I can move it to wherever I want to. Now, I can also align them by positioning the one that has a position I like, do a right mouse click and choose Align, and if on the Align choices I choose Top, they will all align with the one I've chosen, and there it is. So I could in fact say by using the edge I can move them around. Now if I had I wanted everything aligned rather with the first one, I'd click in the middle, select them all, right? Click in the middle, right mouse click on the first one, go down to Align and Align Tops. And there I have all my activities aligned. So I could draw a couple more activities like this, all coming out of the first one, and I could choose to align them vertically as well. So let me make that a little bit smaller, and then I could simply select all of these activities here and align them all in with this one in the center over there. So I position my cursor over there, do a right mouse click, go down to Align and choose Align the left hand side of all those, and they will all be aligned and so on, and I can neaten them up as I like and put them anywhere, and there I have my network. To connect them, I simply choose the activity, the predecessor. So I choose this one here, left mouse down in the center, pull it across to the one I want to connect it to, and there I have those left mouse down, pull it to the one I want, and there my arrows are. To get rid of an arrow on the network, I'd simply position my cursor over one there, double click on it, and it will open up that little dialog box there, and I choose delete and the connection is gone. The little box on the line tells me that that is a finish to start activity. In other words, the first activity, it's the finish of the first activity here connected to the start of the next activity, and I use that little indicator because later on we're going to do some lessons where we overlap things and do all sorts of fancy things, and at that stage using leads and lags and delays and things like that, it becomes important to know what's on the actual connector as well. So to connect these two up again, center of the activity, left mouse down, pull it to the next one, left mouse up, and we have our activities done. I can center them all over here. I'm going to center them with the middle one, right mouse click, align the tops, and there's my network. Beautiful condition. And in that way we can move them all, shift down, grab them all, move them to wherever we want them, and build our logic very easily. This would be a good time to try this on your computer. So pause this video now, and when you are ready, return to this lesson and press play. Okay, so in this session now we want to start looking at adding information to the activities themselves. And to do that, we have to double click, position our cursor in the center of an activity. Let's take the one at the top, and do a left mouse double click on that activity, and a dialog box will open up for the activity. Now there are several, you can see there are several tabs across the top here, but the one we're interested in to start with is just the General tab. So when this opens up, you notice it will have its start time, but the cursor is automatically positioned under Name. And this is where we can type in, simply by using our keyboard, we name the activity and type it in. And let's in this case just call this activity A. Now once we've entered the name, if you remember going back to our whiteboard exercise, all we needed to get going and to work out our base network was the name for the activity and a duration, and that would give us the duration of the project. So we choose our name here as A, and then we simply hit the tab button, and that will take us across to the duration box. Now the duration box is in hours, so what we do is simply enter a number there. So let's say activity A is going to take 5 hours. We click on 5 on our keyboard and we click on enter, and we have everything we need to get our logic up to date with the base timing, so that our computer can produce us with a minimum project duration for the network we build, and we can build our base network very easily. So let's go to the next activity here. A double click with the left mouse, let's call it B, click tab, and that one has, say, 3 hours. So we click 3, enter, and there we have those as well. Go to the third box, double click with the left mouse, let's call it C, tab, and this is 4 hours, enter, and we have that one over there. And the last one, double click with the left mouse, this is D, tab, and this is 6 hours, enter, that will be the critical path. And finally, if we go to the end, we double click on there, let's type end, E-N-D, tab, and that is a milestone, so it has 0 hours, enter, and there's our network there. And we will immediately be able to see the timing as well. So that is all we really need to get our base network together. So let's try that. What I'm going to do is delete all these activities here. I'm going to grab them all, right? Do a right mouse click on any one of them and they're all gone. Now, if I move my activity box a little bit to the left, we can look at a way to build our network pretty quickly. We position our first activity, we position the cursor in the center, we click down with the left mouse and hold, and we draw our first activity, and double click on that, call that A, enter 2, enter, and there we have our first activity of duration 2. We can position it nicely. Left mouse, click on the center of the activity, hold it there, draw the next activity, double click on that one, and this is going to be B, tab, and it's 5, enter, and there's our next activity there. We grab it over there and put it next to that. Now center the cursor in the middle again, hold the left mouse down, pull the next activity, release the next mouse, there it is, double click with the left mouse, and this is going to be C, tab, and it's got a duration of 7, enter, and there's our activity C with 7 hours and so on. And in that case, we can build our network very quickly. Just to go a last one, grab, enter, double click, that is D, tab, and it's 2, enter, and there's our next one. And in that way we can build our network extremely quickly. E might come off here, so we double click on that, call it E-5, enter, and that's 5 units. The next one is double click on that, double click on that box, and that is F tab 3, enter, and there we have our network being built very quickly. Let's put an end to this, and we grab one there, make that end, E and D tab, and it's a milestone, so it's 0, enter. We can connect these two up by left mouse in the center, hold it down, move it to that one, let it go, and there's our network showing the critical path and the two activities that have float. You'll notice there's no float and no total float, no free float in all of the activities on the critical path. There is total float of 6 hours, free float of 0. That's correct, because if we were to delay E, it will push F. In the case of F, we have a total float of 6 and a free float of 6. That is correct, because it is not going to affect any other task within its float of 6. So we have our little network, base network, that we can build very quickly. In this session, we have covered the basic skills required to build critical path networks in Microsoft Project. At this stage, it is probably a good idea to get some practice on your computer. When you feel confident you have mastered these basic skills, move on to the next lesson.